In this video, we will look at one of the applications of calculus, and that is studying the motion of objects, and more specifically, objects moving in a straight line. So first of all, we'll define the displacement of an object. So if we have an object P moves along straight line so that its position from the origin is given by a function s of t, where t is greater than or equal to 0. This function here is known as the displacement function, and it gives the position of the object at any time t. This means when you want to know where the object is after 1 second, 2 seconds, you substitute that value into s of t, and that will give you how far the object is from the origin. Remember that this is a displacement function, so it works like vectors. When you substitute a value of t into the displacement function, you can either get a positive value, so s of t could be greater than 0, and this means that the object is located to the right of the origin. Or you can get 0, that means the object is at the origin. Or you can get a negative value, s of t could be less than 0, so the negative here means that the object is to the left of the origin. And if we are given the displacement function s of t, from this we can define the velocity and acceleration functions. Now, the velocity is the rate of change of displacement with respect to time. So that means the velocity of the particle p at any time t would be given by v of t, which is the first derivative of s of t, the derivative of the displacement function. And then for the acceleration is the rate of change of the velocity with respect to time. So that means a of t would be the derivative of the velocity function, or it's the second derivative of the displacement function. So if we have s of t, which is the displacement function, and then we find v of t, the velocity function, and a of t, the acceleration function, and then we substitute t equals 0, so that we get s of 0, v of 0, and a of 0. These will give us the position, the velocity, and the acceleration of the object or of the particle at t equals 0. And we refer to these as the initial conditions, which are the conditions of the object at the start of the motion at t equals 0. If the velocity of the object is 0, that means the object is instantaneously at rest. If the velocity is greater than 0, that means the object is moving to the right. And if the velocity is less than 0 or negative, that means the object is moving to the left. Also, if we look at the interpretation of the sign of a of t, the sign of the acceleration function, if the acceleration is greater than 0, that means the velocity is increasing. If the acceleration is less than 0, negative, that means the velocity is decreasing. And if the acceleration is 0, that means the velocity is constant. And in this case, we say it's either a maximum velocity or a minimum velocity. That velocity, it's not changing. It's constant.